Shalom, Yasharallah Shalom. All praises to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. And I want to do a video in regards to internal validation, and that it always comes from the spirit. Because we live in a society that has literally been built and branded, especially in the 21st century, off of people's innate desires to have worldly things, whether it be worldly clout, whether it be worldly money, worldly women, worldly dollars, worldly prestige. And you have to understand that as the society that's been built on fake stuff, external stuff, starts to disintegrate and degrade over time, the people who put their faith in those things, the people who put their life in those things, they're going to go further and further in the deep end. And just to be honest, if you're somebody who has a mindset focused on carnal things, you're going to pass away and fade away with the carnal things, because it's all going to be burnt up with fire, whether it's through war, whether it's through destruction, famine, plagues, or the eventual fire that the Most High is going to send on the day of judgment. So you have to be able to have an internal validation, because that comes from the spirit, and that's going to allow you to have a mind to move towards, things that are spiritual versus what 95% to even like 99% of people in this society and in the world in general, for the most part, but mainly in Babylon, put their mind in 24/7. I want to read this in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 4. It says, "In all things approve ourselves as the ministers of the Most High, in much patience, in affliction, in necessities, in distress, in stripes, in imprisonment, in tumults, in labors, in watchings, in fasting, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of the Most High, by the armor of righteousness on the left hand and on the right hand, by honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, as unknown, as yet well known, as dying and behold, we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing all things." And long story short, basically what Paul is saying is always allow yourself to be approved in everything you do, in the good times and the bad. But I really wanted to highlight verse 10, because this is the point. He says you're always rejoicing, whether you're poor, yet your poorness makes you rich, makes many rich. And he's talking about the spirit as having nothing yet possessing all things. Why? Because in this life, if you're poor, if you're downtrodden, if you're oppressed, more often than not, you have little to nothing materialistically, yet you possess all things because you're moving in the spirit. And as Hamashiach said, he who gives up, these things on this side, wife, brethren, houses, car, whatever, you will receive it 100-fold in his kingdom. We all understand that. But the crazy thing about this video is, in a lot of these scenes that I'm going to show y'all, you see the average mindset of people, not even just spiritual people, because I know this is a spiritual channel, but even people in the world who take that external validation to the next level. I want y'all to really look at some of these videos.
Ordinarily dangerous. It turns out it's the most dangerous, not only plastic surgery procedure, it's the most dangerous operation there is, with the highest fatality rate. And I'll tell you why. You take fat from one part of your body, typically the abdomen, you process it, and you inject in the buttock. Sounds easy, right? The problem is there's these very small little veins in the buttock that lead directly to the vena cava, which is the major blood vessel that brings blood back from your body to your heart, to your lungs. If you get fat in those little vessels and it gets in the main vena cava and goes to your lungs, it's over. It's the most fatal operation there is. And I would advise there are other ways to get a full buttock besides that.
If it's the deadliest operation, period, are they giving warnings when they do this to people? I mean, are people adequately being informed about the dangers here?
Not in my opinion. Now, last year, before the pandemic, an international task force was gathered to warn all of Europe that this is such a dangerous operation. And in this country, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons started to talk about it. They sent out a few articles about it, and then everybody pretty much ignored it. But listen, it's super dangerous. You can do it in the gym. There are safe fillers to do it. I recommend people back.
So basically, this was a video posted by the brother, Real Hebrew Israelite. I seen this on his page like 5-6 days ago. And it's basically just going over the reality of the vast majority of these modern women when they go and get a BBL butt lift, they don't really understand that while they're getting something, you could even call it long term, but it's really short term in like their life, because a lot of these women is 18, 22, 25. By the time they're 45, it looked like lopsided airbags in their backside. So when you look at the decision of them going to the Brazil or going to wherever they go to get these BBLs, they're obviously not long-term decisions. They fade away over time. But just in the immediate, like the brother said on the bottom, he said the majority of modern day women are literally laying down their lives for a BBL. And look, this is the reality of this world. This world is a very visual world. This world is a very fickle world. This world is a very short-sighted world. So the vast majority of people who see a woman with a butt lift are obviously going to rate her higher than a woman with greater character, than a woman who's modest. But you have to understand, when you look at things in a greater perspective, there's nothing that a woman could possibly do that's worth it for her to have a BBL, because it just shows all the holes in her validation, to the point where she has to get artificial surgery. And y'all are gonna see a lot more of this artificial surgery. You watch some of these videos that I'm gonna post up. You have people literally changing their genetic makeup, changing their entire physical appearance, also they can feel validated by other people. Because you got to ask yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror, who determines if you're ugly or if you're pretty? Did you just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm pretty? No, you looked at the things around you. You look at what society said, what your friends said, what your family said, what your ex-crush said, what the man you fell in love with said about you, and essentially you felt like you had to change something. You became the monster that can't be undone, like a Kim Kardashian, or what's the other girl name? Kylie Jenner. And yeah, they have aesthetics that are pleasing to the average person. Now, some brothers think, the whole fake thing is all bad, but some don't. But even at the end of the day, the principle of it is that you felt like you couldn't have something on this world, in this physical realm of existence, so you had to change it, and you had to alter it. And whenever you change something, you alter something that the Most High has bestowed upon you naturally, because at the end of the day, the Most High created the vessel, and he made the vessel the way he wanted it to make it. If you personally want to go out and change it, there are always going to be a lot more drawbacks to it than if you just allow things to be natural. And the only way you can allow things to be natural is if you're validated internally. Now, do some of us have external validation? When some people call and tell a woman she looks pretty, when you go and you see your kids and say, hey man, you're a strong man, you're a talented brother, this and that. Yeah, of course. But at the end of the day, you have to have a foundation of validation internally. And as the scripture says, Yahawah says, I will dwell in them. Yahweh will send his spirit to dwell in them. When you have that spirit dwelling inside of you, once you understand you have the Most High who can be against you, you don't have to do a lot of these narrow-sighted, shallow-minded things in order to allow yourself to feel like you have it. And a lot of people who live this mindset, they're going to be fodder for the slaughter.
Free top up deep.
All right, now we got on the females. But I don't know if y'all brothers been seeing this. There are literal dudes out here trying to get height surgery, man. This is crazy when I seen this. Let's watch the video.
My starting height was 5'7". I would consider myself kind of on the shorter end of average.
This is Alex, not his real name. He asked us to protect his privacy. He's been tormented by his height most of his life.
Most people can agree that body shaming is not okay, and making fun of someone's appearance is not cool, but comments about height just seem to get a pass.
When I see a man that is 5'8", I'm like, look, a garden gnome.
There was a time in my life where it just bothered me so much that I would wake up before my shift at work started, and I would just walk around the neighborhoods near my house and just cry. And just like put in my headphones and cry into my mask. And I was like, there's gotta be another way. I knew there's that one solution. I said, hey, let's do it. Like, I just got to the point where I was like, if all it is pain and money, all right.
So if y'all brothers are unfamiliar with this, I actually seen a dude, I don't know, I think it's some so-called black guy, maybe like a month and a half ago. And basically he had got surgery. He was like, I don't know, he was 5'7", 5'6". And he got a surgery done. He was like 5'10". And y'all understand the short jokes. A lot of y'all brothers know about, especially if you brothers used to do like online dating, women like, oh, you gotta be 6 feet, you gotta be long, tall, and handsome. Again, if you are taller in this society, you will be more attractive to women, and there will be certain things that you'll get perks. I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not one of these guys who's gonna sit here and lie and say that we're all given equal opportunity in this carnal world. That's not true. But the thing that I'm trying to explain is that I know brothers who are 5'3". I know brothers who are 5'7". Bro, I'm not paying $100,000 to grow 3 inches, because regardless of what somebody else is telling me, it's not really worth it. Now, I'm sure a lot of y'all brothers might have had dreams to play basketball, and it would have been a lot easier if you're 6'4" than if you're 5'11". I know personally. But at the end of the day, that's what happens when you try to go against the will of the Father. Because again, everything that happens in your life, Salakia, everything that happens in your life, whether quote unquote good or quote unquote bad, is all of the Most High script. And as long as you enter into his salvation, everything that happens in your life is to make you stronger or is to tear you down. So you can either be somebody who's weak-minded and allow it to tear you down. And when you look at these surgeries, if y'all do some basic studying, the guys who get these surgeries, their bones can grow crooked. It can be difficult for them to walk. A brother told me earlier today that you could potentially become paralyzed. And just because a female says, I look like a garden gnome because I can't relate. I'm 5'11", but I'm just average height. I know other brothers who's taller than me. When I go in the store, I'm like, oh, man, he's taller than me, man. I can't talk to nobody. I can't talk to no girls. Again, you have to become validated internally. You have to be validated spiritually, because in this society, because people have such easy access to these genetic changes, and the worst of them all, y'all already know what's the worst of them all, the T word, the transformer word. That is by far the worst surgery that you could have. That all stems from having something in your mind telling you that you're not good enough, man. Because again, when you understand the will of the Most High, you accept that he made you the way he made you. That's why a lot of people, they look like, oh, why did God make certain people paraplegic? Why did God make certain people maimed, certain people blind? The scripture in John, it literally explains it. Yahawah said these things happened to that man, the man who was blind, to show them a manifestation of the works of the Most High. Oftentimes, you got to understand, in this world, sometimes things happen to how do I put this the right way? Deny you of things in the world that you wanted, because it's a way for the Most High to show his works, to show that even if you're a short dude, even if you're a woman, you feel like you don't got no ass or whatever it may be, that you still feel that love and you still feel validated because the Most High picked you. Not because you had a BBL, not because you was 6'8". We all know that Saul was taller than David, but who did he choose? He chose David, obviously. So you have to be able to understand, and that's one of the main things you got to internalize, is if you've been bestowed some sort of knowledge, the Most High has given you a blessing that is infinite. Just to know the knowledge, because most people don't even know the knowledge. But if you're really walking in sincerity, if you're really following the way, that's a whole nother level to it, you know? So you have to understand the blessings of what the Most High is giving you, and you can't fall into a lot of these carnal things. And this is just more than just getting these crazy surgeries, but this is just things in general. There's a lot of things that I'm going to show you guys on this list that essentially y'all are going to look at it and you're going to understand what I'm talking about. I also want to show y'all this.
Free top up demon. Crack man. Go get that. Go get that. Free top up demon. Crack man. Go get that. Go get that. So jack man. And you better move papa. Move like you don't fuck with those flockers. Move.
So if y'all didn't see at the bottom here, let me replay it back real quick.
Free top up demon.
All right. So basically they got beard transplants. Now I think I've seen this before. I'm not 100% sure. But you got all these different beard transplants. You got muscle transplants. You got fat transplants. You obviously got rod transplants, allegedly. You know, all these things that go off of your insecurities as a man or as a woman. So, again, man, when you realize the society that you're living in, if you're trying to move with the world, these are going to be the things that you have. I actually want to get this scripture in Corinthians real quick. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 30. It says, I read verse 29, it says, "But this I say, brethren, that the time is short. It remains that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they who weep as though they wept not, and they who rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world not abusing it, for the fashion of this world pass away." So when Paul is basically saying that the fashions of this world passeth away, so don't abuse the world. A form of abusing the world is abusing the ways of the Most High and breaking them in order to get the things you want. Because clearly, if you're getting any type of surgery like that, you're breaking the law of the Most High. What is the law? First, the law is that you can't put any markings or cuttings of your flesh. So that's why you really shouldn't have, like, if you brothers donate blood, you really shouldn't be doing that. Obviously, you don't want to cut yourself with a knife. You don't want to get tattoos. Those are against the scriptures of the Most High. He says no markings and no cuttings of the flesh. But also, just more importantly, the feeling that you have to change the vessel that the Most High gave you in order to feel like you're more attractive to the other sex. That's a sign that you're abusing the ways of the world to try to get things within the world. And that's why Paul said at the beginning, if you have a wife, act as if you had none. So essentially, he's just telling you the mindset that you need to be in, especially in the time during the collapse. You have to be able to contextualize everything and understand that if you have certain things in the world, anything in the flesh can pass away. Money, cars, clothes, women, God forbid, but even your kids and yourself, obviously, you can pass away. This great body you have, you're a bodybuilder. If you're putting so much time into the vanity of your own appearance, and what I mean by that is there's nothing wrong with looking bad, but to the point where you feel like you're not a man if you're not working out, if you don't got six-pack abs, that's the whole aspect of doing something in vain. You see what I'm saying? So always worry about the spirit first, and these other things, while they're good, they're not really important when it comes to building up your foundation for the time to come. But I'll continue down verse 32. It says, but I will have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried care for the things that belong to the Most High, to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married care for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. There is difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she who is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that you may attend unto the Lord without distraction. So the last sentence in verse 34 says, how she may please her husband. And we all know most of these women are harlots, and they're just out here trying to get attention, trying to get validation. But a lot of them are trying to score ballers, and they know if they get that new BBL that them and their girls been talking about, they feel that they're going to be more inclined to get a baller, without really understanding that in the grand scheme of things, these things aren't important. This is Ecclesiastes 5:8. It says, if you see the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment, injustice in a province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. Moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. The king himself is served by the field. He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. When goods increase, they are increased that eat them. So basically, the title is very plainly the folly of riches, because we understand that one of the main lust of the world is the feeling to get money. You already know in the hood what they say. I'm trying to get my bands up. I'm trying to run the racks up. You already know. And any race, obviously, they trying to get more money. But the thing is, money's not wrong. Again, I think the same chapter says money can be a strong defense. But at the end of the day, the lust and the love for money, relating back to the epistles, I forgot what epistles that was in, the love of money is the root of all evil. So you have to be able to understand that, and you have to see that a lot of people, they have a love for money, and they have a love of what money can buy. In this time, with inflation, with interest rates, with a declining economy, a loss of jobs, closing of stores, a lot of people are suffering from their love of riches and their love of material wealth. Let's watch this other video.
In the shadow of Motor City, Detroit area mom Dawn Hurley's daily lifeline hangs by a thread.
How many days a week do you need this car?
7.5.
Every day. Every day and then some.
Yes.
Yeah.
After months unemployed during the pandemic, Hurley, who drives her kids to school each day, then travels for her new job in pharmacy operations, is $1,000 behind on car payments and on the list to have her car repossessed.
Have you had to choose between car payments and other bills?
Absolutely. I've had to choose to have my rent late.
All the while knowing she could wake up.
So I just want to stop right there. She said she had to choose between falling behind on her car payment or having her rent late. And this isn't even somebody who's quote unquote living above her means. We all understand in this society, as the inflation gets worse, as the dollar loses more and more value, things are going to be harder to come by. Just basic things. Y'all understand that. You know, my situation is very different. I'm doing something very, very extreme as far as my living situation. But there's a lot of people out there with 2 cars. They got kids. They got a decent house. They can't make these payments. They just can't. They can't. And they're running into these issues. And definitely right now with what's going on, with how the society is set up, it's making things a lot harder for you to just have something that a lot of people are going to start to see that the life that they have, they're losing it. As Mashiach said, he who loveth his life. Well, let's just pull it up real quick. This is Matthew 16:24. Then said Yahawah unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. And whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. And obviously, Yahawah, in that context of life, you can use that as a physical life, but you can also talk about just the life standard that you've been living in this society, trying to save the things of the life that you had. We have a lot of delusional people trying to save the same standard of living that they had 20, 30 years ago in the 90s, trying to live the quote unquote American dream, who are literally starting to see that life that they try to build slowly eroding around them. You know, it's actually a blessing that the collapse is moving so slow in our mind. It's obviously moving how the Most High wants it to accordingly. But you have to understand that me personally, I've known about the collapse to come for at least 4 years. Some of y'all longer, some of y'all shorter. A lot of us have been anticipating that it was going to happen like that. A lot of us anticipated it was going to happen right after the V card, right after the shots came out. You know, things have been kind of going a little bit slower. They've been tarrying. But the thing that a lot of brothers don't realize is if you look at the economic state of the average household in America, they're behind. They're just like this lady, and they're losing things. When you watch this video, it's going to explain that at least over 18% compared to last year of people who are making payments on a car are 60 days late. A lot of people losing their cars. A lot of people about to lose their jobs. Don't fall for that false job report where they said, 300,000 jobs created this week. Even if you have a minimum wage paying job or $20 paying job, that's not really going to get you anywhere in this economy right now.
Any morning to find her car gone.
Think about that for a minute. Now, contrary to popular belief, this just so happens to not be a black woman. This is American culture. Did you know that repossessions are up higher than they've ever been since the 2008 crash? Yep. Repossessions are up. You can come on in, Rita. Repossessions are up the highest since they've been since the 2008 crash. Car payments are higher than they've ever been. Financing, what's up, babe? Financing is higher than it's ever been. The amount of money that you paying in interest is higher than it's ever been. And it has no face. It's not just black people. It's white people. It's Asians. It's Hispanic people. Shout out to Johnny Van Johnson and everybody that's contributing super chats, reading them throughout the show. It's all across the board. People are financing their lives away. They losing everything. They paying an egregious amount of interest. And every day they wake up hoping not to have their car repossessed. Do you know that they have 96-month loans on cars now?
That's an 8-year loan for a car, bro. And now the thing that he's just explaining is that it's not just so-called blacks, you know? It's everybody. Everybody's going through it. And that's how you know that the society is on its last leg. Because when you see the first in the position of the last, that lets you know that the last is about to switch positions. So, again, you got to move spiritually. Some of y'all are going to have to make tough decisions. Some of y'all may not want to do certain things in order to get by. But ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever you do in the flesh, whatever you do physically and financially, it really doesn't matter if you don't have the spiritual foundation of Yahawah. And if you're not following after his holy shepherd, Yahawah, it really doesn't matter. And that's another thing that Hamashiach said. This is Matthew 11, and I'll do verse 27. It says, All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father except the Son, and he to whomever the Son will reveal him. Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. And I also wanted to read this because this is also in the context of when you truly come into Yahawah, when you truly come into that rock, all those things that keep you up at night, all those insecurities about not being 6 feet, all those insecurities that you don't got a nice ass like these other famous women on the internet, all these restless nights that you don't got the nice car and you don't got the $1 million mansion and that people ain't screaming your name saying you that dude on the block or whatever it may be. When you truly move in after the spirit of Yahawah, all those burdens get lifted. All the carnal burdens that you might have had in your life before, they get lifted, and you get a sense of peace and a sense of rest in your mind that most people on this earth don't have. And that's why, again, it's very important for you to be moving according to the spirit, because a lot of people are losing their minds. A lot of people are going to lose their life because they realize that the world they created is coming tumbling down. It's unfortunate, but that's just the prophecy, and it has to happen. The people of this land have to get judged, and we're just grateful that the Most High has bestowed, a holy gift unto us to not allow us to live after this lifestyle. Because any one of y'all listening to me could have been in that position. I know I could have. I knew I used to act like that to a certain extent, maybe not on that level, but was moving after things of the flesh to the point where I couldn't even sit back and thank the Lord, because I didn't even know who he was at that time. But I couldn't even thank the Lord for the things that he had given me, too focused on what was coming next, So you have to be able to understand that, and you have to also understand that, again, things are only going to get worse. And I want to end it on this scripture in the book of Titus. It says, "For the grace of the Most High that brings salvation hath appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world." So basically, Yahawah taught us to deny our ungodliness, our wickedness, and to deny ourselves of the worldly lust. That we had to be able to live soberly. And being drunken when it comes to materialistic things is going after things that you don't really need just because you want to, just because it feels good, just because it's pleasurable. So you have to be able to live soberly, righteously, and godly. Otherwise, you're going to get swept away with the world that's going to be essentially destroyed and recreated. So I hope this was helpful. I want to give our praise to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi before I leave. Till next time, it's Yahawah signing out.